Morena koutou. Nau mga hara mai ki tēnei huihuinga o te Maru o Kaituna. Good morning, everybody. Happy to have you on board for our hui. Seems like we haven't sat around the table for a while, so it's good to see everybody and new members. But before we get into our meeting proper, ka hua te tarākau ki a koe Dean, te whakatūwhera ta tātou hui. Yeah. Tai ki. Ngā mihi, Dean. Just can I remind everybody that the meeting is being video recorded and recording will be made available on the Bay Plenty Regional Council website following the meeting. Just before we get going, we've got quite a few new faces, and I know we're going to formalise that during the hui, but I think I'll just go around the table so everybody can introduce themselves to the hui this morning. I'll go from my right and start with you, Pim.
Tēnā koutou members. My name is Pim DeMonchi and I'm the Coastal Catchments Manager here at Toi Moana, and my role is as committee champion, so I don't vote, I just sit here and help the members achieve what they need to within the Regional Council. Kia ora.
Tēnā tātou katoa, ko te awa komini tōku ingoa, ko rangi uri te mai, ko Kaituna te awa, ko tapu i ke te tangata, ko tapu i ke te whenua, ko tapu i ke te iwi, representative for tapu i ke iwi authority. Tēnā tātou.
O tapuika, alternate. E mihi mai ana kia tātou. Akahuri. Dean.
Oh yeah, it's on there. It's on there.
Good luck.
Tātou. Ko hake nei ko waiwai Ngāti Pikia, taku inu ngaro ko Ngāti Whakau, engari taku parawa ko Waitaha. Probably in conflict of interest. Kia ora no tata.
Kia ora koutou. My name is Rawari Kingi. I'm with the Te Pū Mautanga o Te Aroa. I'm an alternate. I was born at one end of the river and I'm now living at the other end. Okay, kia ora.
Kia ora tātou, I'm Rick Kurak, recently elected to the Tauranga City Council. I've been on the council for 6 terms previously, so it's my 7th term. I haven't been on this committee, but my fellow councillor Steve Morris, who has put in his apology, has some experience on this, so I've got a bit of catching up to do. I can perhaps have a good chat to Steve. I was only appointed to this committee yesterday, so I haven't even read the agenda, apologies. But look forward to our time together. Kia ora.
Tēnā tātou, ko rangiri te maunga, ko Kaituna te awa, ko tapuika te iwi, ko Joshua Roberts ahau. I'm here alongside Uncle Dean to speak to you about a project that we're working on at the moment. He mahi tāra e waka, kia ora.
Kia ora, ko Haimona Brown tōku ingoa, ko te arawa te waka, ko te arawa te iwi, he kai tautoko ahau, mo taku hoa, me tō tātou rangatira. Ki reira, Uncle Dean, mo reira. Koutou katoa, kia ora rā.
Morena tātou, Ko nau rama ka mahi a tōku ingoa, here sitting for Waitaha. Kia ora.
Mauri ora ki te whare, tuatahi me mika tiki ki a koe, Uncle Dean. Siwhere te awa tātou nei huihuinga i tēnei ata, tēnei te mihi atu. Kia koe te mārei kura, whai ama te moana, whai te kite i a koe i tō tūranga. Kia tātou katoa, tēnei te mihi atu. Ko ai, hau, he uri tēnei no Waitaha, tapuika me tū haurangi. Engari, tōku pōtai i tēnei ata, no te kapu o Waitaha. Just referencing to Uncle Maru Tapsu, he was saying that, you know, he's got one arm here, one leg there, one head here, and there's a little bit of conflict. I think we're all quite conflicted if your whakapapa is Māori, engari, me mahi tahi tātou ne. Mauri ora, reiwi hapi.
Te Mārie, Andy Wickers. I'm the representative from Western Bay of Plenty District Council.
I'm Jenny Taman. I'm your committee advisor for today.
Te taru.
Kia ora no tātou. Ko te taru ai tōku ingoa, Ngāti Pikia o Ngāti Mākino, ko au te mema Māori o mō kurei, I runga I te kaunihera o Toi Moana. Te taru ai, I'm the alternate for Bay of Plenty Regional Council. I look after the Kurei district, which is effectively the Tākari o Te Arawa. Having said that, I go part way down the Kaituna, but Te Arawa Waka goes right to Makatū. So occasionally I'll dick my nose into things that probably should not be my jurisdiction from a regional council point of view, but I also hold those tribal connections very dear. Kia ora tātou.
Kia ora. And I understand we have others on Zoom. Sorry, my screen is not working. Can you? Councillor McMillan? Now I can see you, Kat. Morena, Kat.
Ko Kat McMillan tōku ingoa, e noho ana Waitao and Aine. I'm not on this committee, but just joining to listen in whakaronga. So, kia ora.
Kia ake koe, Chris.
Tēnā tātou te whare, tēnei te mihi atu no tēnei o ngai tamara waho, e noho āwaho I te whare, tēnei rā te mihi atu kia koe, kei te rangatira e dīnau I whakatū whira nei tō tātou. Hui anō hoki kia koe, kei taku whaia, nau e noho ana I runga I te tūranga whakahaere o tēnei o ngā rōpū, tēnā kōrua, o tira tēnā tātou. My name's Chris Napier and I'm the Kaupapa Māori manager at Western Bay. And I thought I'd better show my face more around this rōpū. So I'm here today to keep an ear out for things that we might need to hear about and understand from a staff perspective, and just acknowledging our councillor Wickers there for Western Bay. Kia ora tātou.
Kia ora. Jason.
Morena tātou, Jason Cromer, Senior Recreation Planner from the Western Bay. I'm a fly on the wall, and as Chris said, looking forward to attending a lot more of these hui moving forward. Great to be here.
Okay, thank you, everybody. And to the new members around the table, welcome. We'll move into our meeting proper. I just want to take apologies. Currently, I've got apologies from Councillor Jane Nees, Nick Cater, Vicky Thomas, Councillor Grant Daly, Councillor Steve Morris, and Nikki Douglas. Are there any further apologies?
Just apologies for early departure. I accepted a couple of weeks ago at 11 o'clock at Papamoa. And as I said before, I was only appointed to this yesterday, so apologies. I'd love to have stayed for the full meeting, but yeah, previous commitments. Thank you. Kia ora.
And Raponi Wilson.
Yeah, kia ora, Madam Chair.
Can I have
Te taru here. I'll need to leave around 12:30. And apologies not being there in person. I've got the flu at the moment, had for a couple of weeks, so don't want to spread the love.
Ka pai te taru. All right, can I have a mover for those
Kia ora, Madam
apologies?
Chair, apology from me and in regards to the workshop this afternoon. Yeah.
Ka pai.
Move those apologies, ma'am.
I have a seconder, please. Thank you, Rick. All those in favour say aye. Those against? No. Carried. Thank you. Just the format of our meeting today, public forum, there is no public forum. Items not on the agenda, there are none. Order of business, we will have a change to the order of business. Remember, the formal meeting business will now be taken before the presentation, so items 9.1, 9.3, 9.4, 9.5 will follow directly after 9.1, where we will start the meeting. Declaration of conflicts of interest. I've noted yours to Maru. I'm sure everybody else will be just as conflicted. So I'm making the assumption there are no conflicts of interest with matters on the agenda. Ka pai? Okay, carried. We're just going to move to our minutes. We've got two sets of minutes that we need to approve. So on page 7, we've got minutes taken from the 23rd of February 2024. I'm going to take the minutes as read and ask if anyone has any corrections to those minutes. There being none, can I have a mover and seconder for those minutes, please, of someone who was present at that meeting? Okay. No, who was at their 23rd meeting? Okay, I'll move the minutes from the 23rd of February 2024. Can I have a seconder, please?
Second, ma'am.
Rawiri, thank you, Rawiri. Any matters arising from those minutes? Don't appear to be any. Okay, I have a mover and seconder. All those in favour say aye. Aye. Those against? None. Carried. Thank you. Now moving to the minutes that were on the 3rd of May 2024. Those are on page 15 of your agenda. I'll move those minutes again. If I can have a seconder, please. Dean, thank you, Dean. Any matters arising from those minutes? Take that as none. Okay, having a mover and seconder. All those in favour say aye. Aye. Those against? Not carried. Thank you. Okay, we're moving now to 9.1 that's listed in your agenda, and this is the notification of change of membership to Te Maru o Kaituna. Noting that TCC's primary and alternate members have now been confirmed, and recommendation number 4 has been updated to reflect this. Once again, I'm going to take the report as read. Just pointing out that in 2 confirms the appointments of Joelle Komene as the primary member for Tapuika Iwi Authority and Dean Flavel as the alternative member. Number 3 confirms the appointment of, which we don't have at this meeting, but Nikki Douglas remains the number 1 representative for.
So, yes, so there might
State.
be.
All right.
So don't have confirmation.
All right. Just being told we are deleting number 3. And 4, confirms the appointments of Councillor Steve Morris as the primary member of Tauranga City Council and Councillor Mikaere Sydney as the alternate member, noting that during Councillor Sydney's leave of absence, Councillor Rick Carrack will be the alternate member. Can I have a mover for those recommendations, please?
Move.
Dean, thank you, Dean. Seconder. Councillor Witches, thank you. All those in favour say aye. Aye. Those against, none. Carried. Thank you. (9.2) our annual report and proposed budget for 2024. I'm going to pass that to you, Pim. Kia koe.
Kia ora, everybody. What an efficient chair we have this morning. We're rattling through the agenda.
Yeah. Page 25, everybody.
So on page 25, you'll see the annual report. Te Maru gave us some guidance as staff a couple of years ago that the annual report was really a matter that needed to be ticked off by legislation, but it wasn't seen as a very important piece of work for Te Maru. They would rather focus the energies of staff into the actual projects. However, it is presented, so there's a brief annual report there. And I'm happy to answer any questions about that or add any omissions that I may have left off the annual report. I think the key thing for members to consider today is whether the draft annual budget prepared for you is appropriate. You'll see there that you set yourselves a budget of $36,000 worth of jobs last year and only spent a small fraction of that. In fact, you made a profit. You earned $10,600 in interest and you spent $10,000. So you've got something like $190,000 from your $250,000 putia 10 years ago. So Dean is the most miserly co-governance chairman, having only spent $60,000 over the last 10 years, but that leaves the options open for the members to use. So I've put in some items that I think the members might support, and I have a late inclusion request from Councillor Daly for an item that was in the budget last year that wasn't used, but he'd like that to be carried forward, which was $5,000 for the Lawrence Oliver Park wetland proposal. So if the members agree, then I'd propose that we put that on the table for you to consider as well. I guess it's really up to, do members have any questions about the annual report or the proposed budget? And are there any amendments before the recommendations get put?
Yes, Jim. I think there needs to be a relook at the, there needs to be a whole total relook at Maru or Kaituna. You have to look at mountains to the sea. You have to, it's critical. And the mountains to the sea not only includes from Otaine Wainuku down to Wairake, but it also connects those mountains that comes from the lakes, because their venue leads to the Kaituna River, whether it's carbon credits or some environmental impacts that comes down from the lakes, and that means there needs to be a relook at it. And the other issue is that there needs to be a collaborative approach to the Maru o Kaituna. I'll give you an example of that. The reason why Ngāti Whakaue is part of this is on account of their unsettled treaty settlement. So there are some other issues that are about to arise, like the sedimentation of the Kaituna River and all those sorts. Those will certainly come out in the treaty claims. The other issue is that Waitaha has always been a bugbear to me, because they should have had a representative of right. The reason being is their settlement was before the Tapuiga settlement. And they should have been a master of their own services. That's highly important for the Maru Kaituna. And if you're talking about budgets, it's not only the regional council that should be included, it's the Rotorua District Council, the Tauranga City Council, Western Bay District Council, the Department of Conservation. They all should be contributing in some way or other to the quadruple bottom line that you've got here, the Kaituna social, cultural, environmental impacts or bottom lines. Those are what I call the social economy. If you can improve that, then the economic economy will follow. In other words, the port of Tauranga is Rome. All roads lead to Rome. And if you look after the environment will bring on economic wealth. So there's a much bigger task than looking at specific issues. And the big word is collaboration. Everybody needs to be dragged into it. So they will improve the riparian, will improve the wildlife. And I've always maintained that if you grew middle trees along the banks of the river, that will protect the carbons from going into the river. And kereruis will become a pest, and you don't have to rely on Kentucky Fried Chicken. Yeah. Kia ora, lō tātou.
Through you, Madam Chair. Kia ora, Maru. And, you know, none of us disagree with you. And I think the key point is, you know, this entity exists to achieve the purpose of the Tapuiga Claims Settlement Act, which is to recognise all of the entities with a stake in the Kaituna River, from the mountains to the sea. It includes the catchment as well. And the budget that's presented here is only the budget for Te Maru's projects. So each agency that you mentioned is contributing significantly to the actions in Te Tiniatuna, which you'll see on the agenda later in the biannual report. Highlights, I think, a huge amount of work that's underway to achieve each of those different priorities, which will together contribute to the vision and the desired outcomes and objectives of the Kaituna River document. I think, you know, we can always improve in terms of that quadruple bottom line, but so I guess just to be clear, this paper is really only about the budget for the use of Te Maru's own funds. Other agencies fund projects through their long-term plans or their annual plans. Does that make sense?
Partly, because as I pointed out, there has to be a collaborative approach, and politically it will have some influence on the national policy statement. So therefore, government needs to contribute to that. The issue is global warming. Global warming isn't the ambulance on the way. It's here. Global warming is here right now. If you don't respond now, well, you're going to get an inflated cost at a later date. And the ambulance going over the cliff.
I suppose that through you, Madam Chair, the one contribution that Te Maru has made to climate change was that $5,000 contribution last year towards the Makitu climate adaptation planning work that Rowana Bennett led along with Alva and members of the community.
Kia ora, Maru. There were actually quite a few issues that you raised there, and I think Pim has covered them. I think from the collaborative stance that you've raised, I think we've started to do that around this forum. I think the beneficial thing here is that we do have the territorial authorities sitting alongside the iwi and regional council. So, I mean, that has been the beginning of our collaborative process. I think the other thing we probably need to highlight is within each of the portfolios of each of those councils, if we go back to the projects that are listed at the back of this agenda, you can see what the contribution that has been made from each of those TLAs and ourselves. So I think the collaboration of how we're working together has begun. I hear you around that could probably be broadened and extended, and I'm quite confident that no doubt it will. You know, with the advent of climate change, the impact of the Kaituna and its environs will bring that as a natural topic that we will discuss around this table. And given the work that Ruana is already starting to do down in Makatu, so we've got that in motion. Maybe it's not as quickly as you would want to see it, but it's happening. And I think the thing is, it's our watching brief around this forum, and I think it's useful that you continue to raise these issues around this table, because it keeps us, on the ball too of where we should be leading and ticking the box of what we're doing and looking at what we're not doing. So I hear you, and I think there has been a great progress in trying to achieve what you've done, but there's still work to be done. So no reira ngā mihi ki a koe.
Madam Chair.
Maru, just one other thing to add. Maru, the workshop this afternoon is probably another key way that you can influence that whole of catchment work, because it's providing input into the direction for the implementation of the NPS for freshwater management. And so Joe and Stephen and the team will be canvassing a number of options with members following the conclusion of the meeting in that workshop, which will kind of glue together some of these individual projects. Kia ora.
It's done because global warming is actually here, and it's not waiting for anybody. It can't wait for the ambulance to get to the cliff, otherwise it'll end up over the cliff. And that's the objective, is to get down, and all these parties should come together with their checkbooks, put it bluntly.
Madam Chair.
Te taru.
Yeah, Madam Chair, I think the point that's being raised really is that there's some clarity around the contributions that people are making on the wider catchment scenario. If you look at Rotorua and Lake Rotorua, obviously, the land and the farms around there have contributed significantly to nitrogen buildup. That nitrogen and all of the stuff that comes from the farms and the tributaries goes down the Oho Channel, then into the Kaituna, and then everybody downstream has to enjoy all the muck that goes down there, right? So there's a responsibility along that whole traverse for everybody to contribute. And I know they are, Pim, there's a wider catchment approach to this, but it would really be good for this particular Maru of Kaituna to understand what those contributions look like, because it is quite a significant budget that's assigned to those particular attributes. And I think it's really quite, it can maybe settle the question that Maru has been asking around, need more budget. I think there is a lot happening, and the issue is how effective is that budget being spent, and do we know, and does the Maru know where it's being spent? And again, being part of assessing the effectiveness at their end of the channel as to how this is all working out. Because when I look at the Maru o Kaituna's budget, in comparison, it's pretty small. And therefore, you're sort of questioning, okay, who else is contributing to a very, very important issue for the Kaituna? So I think, just put that on the agenda, maybe that, come back at some point with a paper that gives some indication of the global context that the Maru o Kaituna is facing. And I know there's urgency around collaborative efforts. I know even with government, they're putting the asset on the government agencies to work more collaboratively together. Good luck with that. But I also think that within our own people, it's important that we work collaboratively so that the left and right hand don't argue with each other and actually, don't connect with real opportunities. Scale works. Working individually won't do us much justice. That's just my view. Kia ora.
The other thing I didn't mention too was actually the mahi that's also being done out on the ground by the hapu in iwi that is supporting the care and protection of the Kaituna and its environment. So it's not just the TLAs and regional council; it's also the hapu in iwi on the ground that are making huge contribution now since we've come together as Te Maru o Kaituna. So ngā mihi kia koutou.
Madam Chair,
Taking
one
on.
final comment, if I may, Madam Chair, sorry. Just as you mentioned, you know, I mean, tapuika around the table with the Wahapua Waihi, the Waihi estuary as well. And it just shows you what can happen with an alliance when our people pull together. We can combine our strength and actually raise sufficient resources where we take charge and we lead the charge. And others come in and cooperate so that we get the farmers in, we get the drainage people in, we get the researchers in, we get National Conservancy in, and we all play the same game on the same page. But with iwi leading, given our historical and our current connection to that particular taonga. So I've just a thought to tapuika, you are involved in that particular space as well, and I think it sort of comes as quite a neat model for us to remember about how these things can happen and what might work by working together closely.
Kia ora. We do have a report further down in our agenda too. It's the other funding that we can look at later on, Pim, is how we align that funding to the work that's been done by Te Maru o Kaituna, and that's the funding around building Māori capacity through the LTP, and what was approved in the LTP and down the track is how we find alignment with that funding too to support what's being signalled here in further projects for Te Maru o Kaituna. Okay. I think there's probably a recommendation here that we need to approve with this report. That's the recommendations on page 25. Can I please have a mover and seconder for this report? Thank you. Can I have a mover first, please?
Happy to move.
Thank you, Dean. Can I have a seconder for the report, please? Councillor Witcher, thank you. All those in favour say aye. Aye. Those against, there are none. Carried. Thank you. All right, we're moving to 9.2, and that's you again, Pim. Okay, a koe and Georgia Edwards, I'll let you introduce.
Yeah, kia ora anō. So you'll recall that we used to bring you a quarterly report on progress against Te Tini Atuna, but these reports are quite comprehensive, and so we asked if we could decrease that frequency to twice a year. So this is the second for the year, and today one person who'll be joining me in the presentation is Georgia Edwards from our geospatial team down there, and Georgia's been working on one of the projects, which is to create a map or a dashboard showing some of the things that Te Maru is interested in regards to the implementation of Te Tini Atuna. So perhaps if we start with Georgia doing a demo, if she can join the Zoom and share her screen, and then I'll go through a couple of other highlights in the biannual report after that.
Everyone can see that
Just
now.
press the button on the microphone, Georgia.
Yeah, it's green. It should
Oh,
be
yeah.
on.
Sweet.
Cool, perfect. Kia ora, ko Georgia Edwards toko ingoa, and I'm head of geospatial analyst here at Bay of Plenty Regional Council. Sorry. And I've been working on a dashboard as part of Project 17. So a mapping platform that can allow you to see information related to the Kaituna Action Plan. Ooh. Sorry, closer? Yeah, that's okay. So that's what I have in front of you here. This is what I've put together, but I'm really encouraging any feedback. I'd love to know what is important for you to see on this dashboard, if this is helpful for your work, or if there's other things that I've missed entirely that you'd like to see added to it. I'm open to conversations about that. So start off here, we've got the main map view. I've just added some layers such as river access points, which Western Bay Plenty District Council sent through to me. Got some consent information, cycleways and walkways within the Kaituna catchment, reserves, and I also have a layer button at the top here, which allows you to add more information. Just don't want to turn it all on at once. It gets quite busy when you've got everything switched on there. So wetlands, for example, and other layers such as land use for the catchment. Just to help you visualize what's going on spatially within the catchment. I've also got 4 charts on the side here. So 2 that are the count of discharge consents and water consents split out by type, just to give you a bit of an overview. And that land use as well is a pie chart. And the total area of wetland. All of these filter and change as you zoom in and out of the map. So if you want to zoom to a specific area in the catchment, those will update straight away, and you'll be able to see the information just for that area currently on the screen. You can also change the base map of the map as well if there's other information you'd like to see, such as, so aerial imagery is the default, but you can change it to a topographic map or relief to get more of a 3D view of the landscape. And I've put a link to the action plan in the top corner there to make it easier to access, so you can go and reference the goals and see in the dashboard and their plan at the same time. There's a bit of space in here. I can definitely add more graphs, more stats, and more layers to the map, whatever you need to complete your work. So please, if you've got any ideas or feedback, or you want to have a look for yourself, at the moment it's not shared publicly, or I can always add people into the group, so logins for you. Please contact Pim, and then he can put you through to me, and we can get you sorted with access so you can have a close look for yourselves. Thank you.
Any questions from the members?
Kia ora. Just wondering if we should have a cultural layer on there as well. I think consents, what it takes could be a good layer on there as well, so we can gauge what's going on in the catchment.
So the consent water tax layer is already on there, but agree that your culture will be happy to chat more about what you'd like to see in that layer and what we already have mapped, and definitely can look at adding that in.
Kia ora.
Maru.
Yeah, interested if you can do a paper on the evolutionary change, the evolution changes, the coming of the waka. And then from that period, we had one of the global economies was actually flax. And the Kaituna River was highly important for they never used to have trains or big trucks in those days. So the transport node was canoes bringing the flax down. The flax at that time, there was not much steel in the globe, so it was a global economy. Flax was a global economy. And it was also rich in pātaka kai in terms of the Māori worldview. You had the wetland swamps, birds, and all that was, the horoipia was all wetlands. And it was an important part of the Māori economy, if you like, at that particular time. Rich in kiridu, rich in all those things, fish. And they used to travel by the seasons, the moons and tides. We lost all that when they introduced farming. And those wetlands became wastelands. So if you can give a historical account in terms of the evolutionary changes, we'll get a better understanding of where we come from and where we're going.
See what data I can find. We've probably got some old imagery that can help show that picture over time, but see what I can do, because I said it's quite tricky to find data from pre-GIS systems sometimes, but I'll definitely have a look and see what I can find.
Joe.
To help on that one, and Georgia may not be aware of it, but in the river document, there's a beautiful spread, Maru, you'll remember. You'll remember in the Kaituna River document, there's that big spread of the old photography versus the new and the rearrangement of the awa with the snaking. So we certainly should be able to provide that to Georgia to put on a bit of a lens. You could have a look at that photo or reproduce that on here. Yeah. We might not get back to the waka though, but we can
Oh, yeah,
certainly,
well, that-
certainly get back to the 50s and when those realignments and the wetland layer, the old and the new back as far as our photography goes.
Well, you know, after the war, there was 23 fishing boats in Mangetu, and then and you could walk on pippies. And since all the sedimentation has gone down the Kaituna River, you got to dig about that far down to get a handful of pippies. And there's no boats in Mangetu now because the fish used to travel with the moon, stars, tides, matariki, and the seasons. They used to travel. Kahawai used to go up there and they used to flog the place with nets. Kahawai and mullet used to go right up the Kaikokupu River. You don't see any of that now. Yeah. So the evolutionary of change needs to be say, this is what happened when they introduce dirty drains and all that sort of thing through farming.
Kia ora, Maru. And I think we might be able to find some of that retro lens imagery if we've got a license to put those layers on. So you can switch on 1939, 1959, 1977 and the 1990s and then compare that with today. Hopefully that gives the members a chance. I guess the question is from both members and from the guests in the meeting, who's interested in having a login to this geospatial dashboard? Who's interested in having a look around? Yep. So if you could just keep your hands up and then Jenny can make a quick note of who's keen for a login. There'll be one for each. So yeah. Yes. Hands up again. Okay, let's flip the question around. Is there anyone who doesn't want to have a login? That might make Jenny's job easier. Okay, well that's great. And thanks very much, Georgia. I think if the members have suggestions for what data to add to the list of available layers, her team has got access to just about everything. So it's just a question of what's useful to you. So please feel free to continue to send suggested improvements through to Georgia's email address and we can see if we can make it happen. Thank you. Just coming back to the report, you'll notice on page 35, there's a status report, a one-page red, amber, green status report on each of the 18 projects in Te Tiniatuna. And so just drawing your attention to project 15, which hasn't started, that's the coastal park that was talked about. That's stalled because of insufficient funding. The project 18 River Restoration and Enhancement Fund, that also hasn't made progress, but it could do if members wanted it to with the funds that they have available. But I think Dean has canvassed members' interest in putting funds up for this, and it's not universally supported to use Te Maru's funds as a contestable fund for others to do restoration work. So that's the reason for those two red ones. In terms of the amber ones, project 4B is amber, and that's because one of the focus catchments identified in the action plan doesn't yet have a focus catchment action plan, but there's a lot of work going on in the other parts of the catchment. And farm environment plans, you'll notice, or you will have noticed in the media over the last 9 months or so that the coalition government has modified its approach to freshwater farm plans and sort of slowed things down a bit and taken out a few references. And so what we might end up with is something that's a little less aspirational, and it might be supplemented by requirements in the regional plan, depending on the direction you provide at the workshop this afternoon and a number of other opportunities. Coming down to project 12, the cycleway walkway, I don't really know very much about that. I don't know if anybody from Western Bay wants to comment on the status of that one.
I'm not 100% sure of the detail, but at the higher level, through the long-term plan, there's the cycling walkway budget and the road and the transportation has been cut back because that reflects what's happening at the central government level. And there's not a lot of appetite to pour money into that if it's coming from rates. The reserve funding, there's still cycling walkway stuff in the reserves. That's about all I can say at this point. I could grant Delhi would be a lot more all over that. I could get some information and feed it back if you would like that.
If the members would like that, otherwise we'll get another update at the next status report. There is an update in here, so yep. And I don't mean to dwell on the negative, but it's one of those things when you're looking at status reporting, it's always worth, asking the question about the ones that aren't green. So, Dean, did you want to provide any sort of update on Project 13, the Kaituna Cultural and Heritage?
Yeah, kia ora koutou. So it's just a matter of, I suppose, finding the time with the tapuika or rapuni and sitting down and going through. The proposal is to probably look at what we already have on file in regards to the history of the river. And in the past, various iwi have provided that information. So I think Tapuika, Pikiao, Waitaha, maybe Ngāti Whakaue as well. So those reports are already available, I think, via council. So it would be a matter of reviewing that and then I suppose then using that as our basis to move forward and kōrero with the various iwi within the catchment to look at putting this plan together. So it's pretty much a cultural historical heritage report that we can refer back to and add to. So someone reminded me it only takes a day before something becomes history. So what we tend not to do is report what we currently are doing in things. So, yeah.
Thanks, Dean. And I think, the really good news is that if you read that biannual status report, you'll see that there is an awful lot of work going on to implement the projects that were identified by this committee as a priority for the catchment of the Kaituna River. And all of those projects are making a difference towards achieving the vision and objectives. Maybe just before I hand it back to the Project 6, I just wanted to highlight one thing there. So that is the post-rediversion work. We had a good hui with tangata whenua and the wider community in Makatu last Friday. And there's just a couple of things to highlight. One is on page 54 of your agenda, you'll see a picture of Makatu Spit, which has narrowed considerably due to the storms of 2023 and some erosion on the estuarine side. And there will be a re-nourishment project, or what we call a beach push-up, to try and reduce the risk of that spit overtopping and breaching in a storm over the next couple of years. And the reason for that is there are some significant ecological, cultural and recreational negative effects if it breaches, as well as increasing the natural hazards exposure of parts of Makatu Township. So it's a relatively cheap exercise. It's just pushing sand from the beach up onto the dune to re-establish a crest and a width that's more likely to withstand the effects of a couple of storms. It's not a long-term solution. It's intended as an interim solution. The long-term prediction is that the risk of a breach from the rediversion is going to decrease as some of that sand in front of the marae starts to erode away again. The second thing I'd just like to point out is since this was published, we've had a memo come from our science team, Stephen Park, and that shows that when the river is at its highest 0.5% of flow, it brings in 22% of the sediment that arrives in the estuary. And when it's at its highest 1% flow, it brings in 29%. So a whole lot of the sediment that comes into the estuary comes in during those very, very big flood events. So the recommendation from our science team is that we allow moderate and even large floods to go through the gates at Te Tumu and flush the estuary, but that we close those gates during the very largest events to minimise the deposition of mud, which we saw during La Nina, Cyclone Gabriel and the Auckland anniversary weekend. So the proposed trigger for that is when the flow at Te Matai, at Waitangi, exceeds 70 cumecs, which is about 2.2 times the average flow. So just putting that out there for the members in case anyone has any thoughts about that. And if they do, we probably don't have time to go into a big technical discussion now, but I'm really happy to receive your feedback at morning tea time.
Anybody got any questions for Pam? Oh, sorry. So, aroha mai, te taru. You're on mute, te taru. Unmute
On
yourself.
sign language, actually. Hey, look, the question was raised earlier on around potential cultural lens. I think it might be useful for the Maru or Kaituna to have some sort of cultural framework. And I just referenced the one that Te Arawa Lakes Trust has for the lakes, and develop the cultural framework upon which things are filtered through that framework to give a better picture on the well-being outcomes, I guess, in social, cultural, environmental, and commercial, and getting that balance right. And the reason why I think that's important, because there's so much data around, and you can see there, and congratulations to our staff, you've done a wonderful job of pulling together all of that data and making that available. But you've got some significant developments in front of us as well. You've got the Tumu potential developments, you've got the Rangiuru Industrial Park development, you've got the Blue Haven development, all of those on the doorstep. And being able to make sure that, that your participation in this from the Maru or Kaituna's point of view is recognised, rationalised, etc. And also on top of that, you got what I would call the liberalisation, some say the pragmatisation of farming, to make it more productive. But, one has to also consider those well-being aspects that we talked about, because pragmatism to farmers might necessarily mean something different to you from a cultural perspective in terms of the well-being aspects. So I think it might be very useful at some point to pull together a cultural framework if there isn't already one. Aroha mai, haven't been to every meeting, but I think that could be quite valuable to provide some ease of thinking for our iwi constituencies around this particular table. So that's just my initial thoughts. Kia ora.
Thank you, Te Taru. I actually think that's a brilliant idea. And I think it's probably, we need to take out that Project 13 out of the amber now, given the korero that's had, and move it into green. Our next report is around about the LTP, and I think we should look for some supported funding from the LTP, which will be, the policy will be determined at next Komiti Māori. So I think it's an alignment and conversation we need to be having to progress that framework that's been discussed now. So thank you, Te Taru. Are there any other questions from the members on this report? No, that's great. So, okay, I'm going to ask for a mover and seconder for that to be received. I think it's just receiving that report. Yes, it is. So can I have a mover and seconder, please, for that?
Happy to move, Madam Chair.
As seconded by Councillor Kurek. Thank you. All those in favour say aye. Those against? No other comment. Thank you, Councillor. Okay, and that's carried. Thank you. All right, we're moving to 9.4, which is the long-term plan. We don't have a staff member current. Okay, so it is to be taken as read. I will make short comment on that. In the LTP, there were budgets approved, as you will see in the report. A presentation will be made to Komiti Māori on the 27th of August on how that funding is going to be distributed, who, when, and how. So we will have more information on that after Komiti Māori on the 27th of August. So I'm going to take that report as read too, and
Just one comment. You'll be aware in the current long-term, well, in the long-term plan from 2021, there was funding for a secretariat for the co-governance entities. Now, over the last year, you agreed that Te Maru's portion of that secretariat funding would go towards contracting one of the member entities to help with project support. And that contract is currently still live with Tapuika Iwi Authority. I think it's a $100,000 contract, which is about a third of the way through. And so the funding on page 81 in this report, the Regional Co-Governance Fund, and some of those other Te Ara Potama items is how does that work continue in the best interests of Te Maru in consultation with the Regional Council's Komiti Māori. So yeah, just thought I'd throw that in, because one of the things that Tapuika is working on your behalf under that contract is a Kaituna River Symposium in the early part of 2025, kind of to acknowledge the 10 years of the existence of Te Maru Kaituna River Authority, and, you know, bringing people back into the vision and objectives of the document and the work of this committee. So, kia ora, Madam Chair.
sorry, I just had my microphone off. Just a mover and seconder for that to receive that report on the long-term plan update. Thank you. As the chair, I'll move the recommendation. Can I just have a seconder? Thank you, Rawiri. All those in favour say aye. Those against, there are none. Thank you. Carried. Right. Moving along. Right, we're moving to 9.5. This is the appointment of a chairperson for the position. You all know I'm only sitting here. I am the vice chairperson, and previously we had Dean sitting in that position since the inception of Te Maru. In the first instance, I need a mover and seconder to receive the report.
I'll move. I think Andy said your second. No, I move.
Thank you, Dean. And can I have a seconder, please? Thank you, Councillor Witcher. All those in favour say aye. Aye. Those against, there are none. Carried. Thank you. Now we're going to actually move into the actual nomination now. The voting system?
Yeah.
All right. All right, so before we do that, we're going to move to select the voting system. A or B, and staff recommendation is for system B. Being explanation of A and B provided on page 84 of the agenda. And page 84 of your agenda are the explanations of the systems A and B. I'm going to take it that everybody has been through that and read those. And staff are recommending recommendation 2. So we also now need a mover and seconder for recommendation 2. Have we all read through page 84 and you're aware of the Timothy? Oh, great. Are you happy with system B? Everyone around the table. Is everybody happy? I'm getting the nod from all the heads. That's very good. Excellent. Okay. All right. And given that we're all nodding our heads, I need to formalise that and have a mover and seconder for that.
Yeah, I'll move that.
Thank you, Joel. And seconded by Councillor Witcher. Thank you. Thank you. All those in favour say aye. I think those against and none carry. All right. Step 3, call for nominations.
Well, Madam Chair, I'd like to nominate Joel Kumene.
Do we have a seconder for that nomination? I need to have a seconder, please. So I have Dean has nominated Joel, Councillor Butcher has seconded that. Are there any other nominations from the floor? All right. Excuse me while I get assistance with, with directions on this one. All right.
Person, and then we need a recommendation.
All right, on the basis that we've had no other nominations, I declare Joelle as the new chairperson. And now I need the formal recommendation, which appoints Joel as chairperson of the authority for a term of 3 years pursuant to the Tapuika Ames Claims Settlement Act 2014. So I need a mover and seconder again. Moved by.
I'll jump in first.
Moved by Councillor Witcher and seconded by Rawiri. All those in favour say aye. Kia ora. Those against, there are none. Carried. Well done, everybody. Congratulations, Joel. And on that note, we're adjourning for morning tea.
Tuatahi ake pirangi ana i ki te mihi. Tuatahi ki ngā iwi e umai nei ki te tēpū tēnei rā. Utira nā kai kaunihira. Koutou katoa. Mai tērā kaunihira, tērā kaunihira, tēnā kaurihira. E whakaoti e mihi ana ki a koe taku whanaunga, Dean. Te kau nā tau ko pau i a koe e arahi nei i tēnei kaupapa. E nā kau nui ana ki tō tātou awa. Te awa nui o Tapuika, tō tātou tā ngai. Mihi tonu ana ki a koe. Mai te timatanga i noho mai koe i konei. He rangatira mō mātou o Ngāti Tūheke o Tapuika whānui. O te aroa waka anō hoki mihi ana ki a koe. Utira tātou katoa, tēnei te mihi, tēnei te mihi, tēnei te mihi. So carrying on with our hui, we've got a presentation to follow. Tēnā koutou, Dean Ma, haimona.
Kono rā kātia ki ki runga. E tū whakaiti tēnei I runga I te rangi Māori. Whakapuere nei I tēnei kaupapa ki wainganui a tātou. Mihi tēnei ki a koe Uncle Dean, e tū tēnei I raro I te korowai manaki. I a koe, nora ki tōku taha ko taku hoa, a Joshua Roberts e kaha nei te tautoko I tēnei āhuatanga ki wainganui a tātou. Nora tika ana pēhea nei te haka whāri ki wene o ngā kōrero tuatahi. Tika ana me tukuna te aroha me te whakaaro ki tō tātou tuakana a te Kaituna e tere nei mai te moana tainoa ki ngā pai maunga uno rā ki a tātou I te rānei. Nō reira tātou awa tupua a te Kaituna e mihi nei, e mihi nei, e mihi nei. Nō rā, o ki ngā whakaaro ki a rātou mā, o he turangitia, o ki oki atu, haere atura. Mai ki a tātou, e noho noho nei, ko ai tātou, ko ngā nia o te Kaituna, e tū mai nei, e tautoko nei I wa tātou awa, e mihi nei, e mihi nei, e mihi nei. Nō reira, nō rā tukuna ngā mihi anō hoki ki a tātou e huri huri nei I te tēpū ki ngā kōrero ko whāri ki tia. E Joel e te chamana, e mihi tēnei ki tō tūranga hau, kia kaha, kia maia, kia manawanui. Nō rā ki a koutou mā, ngā kaumātua, ngā kuia, te kaunihera, tātou nei, e mihi tēnei ki tō koutou whakapau wera wera, whakapau kaha, ki te ūtonu, ki te manakitanga, ki te kaitiakitanga o tō tātou tuakana o mātua te Kaituna. Nō reira e mihi nei, e mihi nei, e mihi nei. Nō rā hoki au ki te reo Pākehā, kia mārama nei, wene o ngā kōrero ko whāriki. As I stand here, I'd like to make a reference and give our gratitude to our Kaituna, to our tupua, to the mana that flows through our pai maunga amongst all our mana iwi. I also take note and give a good thank you to everyone here that's sitting here, and just wanted to support all the kōrero and all that's been happening this morning. And also Joel, big news to you with your new tūranga, kia kaha, kia maia, kia manawanui. Ko ai tātou e tūtū mai nei, ko ngā nia o te Kaituna. Just want to make acknowledgement to our pau over here, Matua Dean, who gives us the strength to carry on with this mahi. To the haukainga, my mate over here, Joshi, who also, we all support the ongoing aspirations that the Maru have laid out here today. So our kaupapa is called Ngā Nia o te Kaituna. Uncle told me to stand up and do a mihi to you fellas. And now I'm going to sit back down and we're going to go through it all. Whenora, aroha mai no taku tuara. Mihi nei. Hono rā, no hoki. You know, I can't go anywhere without my whānau looking at me. O reira, taku whānau kere opa. My mother, my auntie Lani, Kazi Whakaio, my sister, my niece, and my other cousin. And what makes that also to make mention again is our marae tupua, Rauru. Nō reira, hoki atu ngā whakaaro ki te whare rā, a rauru ki tiamana, ki tō tātou kāwai hike, ia tēnei waitere, Ngāti tarawhai mana, Ngāti tarawhai tangata, e tū mai ni. Nō reira, tēra whāne. I'll hand it over to Uncle Dean and let him have a few words.
Kei te mihi ki a koe, muna mō te kōrero nei. This is a project which kind of developed in line with access to the Kaituna River, the culture of the Kaituna River. And so we came up with this idea of the Wakatere project with some of our whānau over in Te Poke. And the Nio Kaituna, the Nio is the edge of the waka. And so this is in reference to the edge of the Kaituna being the waka itself. The idea behind this project is to transfer knowledge. So some of the knowledge in whakairo, carving, waka building, navigation to the next generation. And the best way we do that as Māori is to physically do it, get in and build waka and those sorts of things. So that's all I'm going to say. Ka huri te rāko, Josh, and he'll take you through our PowerPoint, and we'll give narrative to wherever Josh goes. Can you talk about that? Kia ora rāko.
Kia ora koutou. As Haimona and Uncle Dean said, te ingoa o te kaupapa, ngā nia o te Kaituna. I'll let Haimona do the talkie.
I'm quite a humble man. And, you know, this is quite new to me. But, you know, hanging out with these Tapuika people lately, it's, you know, I seem to be put in the spotlight a bit often. But where do we start? Ngā nio o te Kaituna. I think a mention has to go out to Auntie Pia Callahan with her foresight into starting this project. And I think it's been a project that Uncle Dean, Tapuika, and the whole mana whenua and ngā iwi around the Kaituna have always wanted to do. And the universe got me here after my 15-year odyssey. I've had to put an anchor into the ground, and here we are. So, Auntie Pia pretty much said, I never met the lady before. I seen her on Zoom. She goes, hey boy, can you put an indicative budget together and create us a program? And I'd like it in 2 weeks, please. And that's how it started. And the first thing I'd done, I had to go on Google and see what indicative meant. And yeah, we got it together and we created this kaupapa, and it resonated with me. My kaupapa, or our kaupapa, is actually, here I go again talking about myself, but ko taku mahi, he mahi waka, ko taku take, ko te wai. Nō reira, my job is waka, and my agenda is the water, and uplifting the wellness of its holistical, cultural, and mana. And so it was just convenient that we're starting here at the Kaituna. Got a call from Auntie Pia. They asked me, what should we call the program? And I says, oh, well, ngā nia o te Kaituna. Nia to make reference back to the waka, because it's quite an ancient word that nobody knows about. But if you have a look at the waka, it's the rim around the waka. So the top of like a crown, you know. And I liken the awa to a waka, and everyone's encompassed around the waka and on the waka. So it's for all of us, you know, all the respective iwi and the nature and the mountains all around us. So ngā nia o te Kaituna is the kaupapa. Righto, slide one. And they're just photos. we were tasked with, it's a rangatahi program, we've been piloting it. And it's to reinforce all the good mahi you guys have done here in restoring the Kaituna to where it is at the moment. I was approached to come in on another side, and it was the reconnection with the people onto the awa. And how do we do that? We're using the medium waka, which I've been fortunate enough to be a part of for nearly a couple of decades. So the first thing we've done, how do we do this? Well, we just got into it, and I understood the first thing we needed to do was build the foundations, and the foundation really starts in the heart. And so what we have to do is install the real burning desire in the heart so we can facilitate the mahi in the future. So we have 10 rangatahi, and the first job we done was, well, how do we build a wakatiri? And the only place I knew where there was wakatiri were on the marae. So we went to Tāheke, Tamate Kapua, Pikirangi, and I was fortunate enough to go back to my whānau in Whakaue, the Rika whānau who looks after a pretty special wakatiri that's still over 120 years old today and still alive and going. But what's, oh geez, I'm just taking, is this all right? So, and so why we went to go do this is because when you look over onto the waio, and especially our roto, our moana, our culture is one of waka culture, but the remnants of that culture are pretty much rotting at few maraes, and that's who we are, and we need to uplift that space to be Taurawa. So in the pictures you have there are various canoes, one at Tāheke, Tamate Kapua, and they all need love, but I'll leave it there, we'll go to the next slide. Yep, same, yeah, next. And feel free to ask any questions if you'd like me to talk about a particular kōrero. So, what's cool about this kaupapa? I thought we started in the spring so we can plant our kumara. I referred to our tama that the success of this program will be the success of the outcome of the kumara we grow. And we're fortunate enough to go on the whenua there down at Ohenemutu, down Marairoa, and able to get some tupu, one of kumara, and also the taputini, which came off the Taurawa waka, that whakaotirangi branganu kete. So, you know, having that story in reference to our Taurawa waka and our narratives reinforces our wakatiri program. And well, we got a few over the line there, as you can see, and I wanted to get a few over the line because I got shy of asking for tupus. I thought we better make our own. And on Monday, we're going to put our kumara in the ground and grow our own tupu so we can feed the whānau. Next slide. Here we have the Kupe Waka Centre up in a wonderful place called Te Aurere, where a great man by the name of Hector Busby, Sir Hector Busby lived. I was fortunate to be a part of his wānanga, which is still going today. And at that place, I was fortunate enough to learn about celestial navigation, waka building, waka narratives, and really just the whanaungatanga of this wonderful kaupapa. And to introduce to the students or to the tauira about engaging with this kaupapa, we had to instill it in the manawa. And the only place I knew to do that was, we got to go to Waka Heaven, which was Heke Nukumai's place. So here we have the marae we just put up there, which is called Te Whetu Marama. We have a star compass, and it's the ambience there, the wairua there is really uplifting. And I don't know how I done it, but I got the boys home. They wanted to stay. And by the way, it's the first time for a lot of these young fellas, they went over the harbour bridge. So, you know, just to get them out of their te poketanga was, you know, a feat in itself, but we got them all the way up to Te Aurere in the far north. Now, the business end. Because our Auntie Pia wanted everything done yesterday, the only place I knew where there was a log was in Kirikiri at a mate of mine's house. So there we have a huge, not huge, medium-sized log. And that's where we started our process of building this wakatere. And as we were there, we made reference to our tikanga, which is the narratives of Rata. We went through pūrākau stories about ancient traditions of how to chop the tree down. But as you can see in the back, we got a skidder and a bit of a big saw there, you know, because we had to do everything yesterday. I was just being practical there. But to reinforce all of this, you know, just introducing our rangatahi to who we are at this level is quite profound, and that and again it reinforces that that te arawatanga, which is our origins of waka, into their heart. And as you can see, we got young men there of 15 to about 25, me being the youngest at 24. Anyway, but you're just showing them all old traditions of how to tārai waka. And the reason why we're doing tārai waka, because it's it is the most ancient art form of us to, in this particular day and age at the moment, which is not the most ancient, but endangered, sorry, because there's few practitioners of this particular art form today. I could, you know, count on a few fingers how many there are doing it, but we're doing it, so you can see we're going through the process and cutting out our waka, and we got it to a stage there where we just chucked it onto the trailer and we brought it back to Uncle's marae up there at Makai. Yeah, haere tōni, Chief. Here we go is again reinforcing the kaupapa is building hoi, you know, going over in order to be able to progress to the stage of waka, we got to first understand the hoi, which is the first waka. So all the fundamentals of waka is in hoi development and hoi construction. And, you know, in my mind, oh yeah, let's just get in there and do some hoi. But what we found while we were piloting the program was the foundation of, you know, instilling the foundations of actually the mechanics of construction. So that took a little while. So those are things to take note of. But what we're doing here is essentially getting everything ready for this summer season that's coming up, so we can hoi our waka up and down the river. Yeah. Hit the pipe. Hit the pipe. So we completed that task of making our hoi. I told the boys to make 20, and even though they moaned and groaned, we got there in the end. But what we done there was actually instilled a particular skill set into their mind, and now they can all go back home confidently and build a hoi. Also, to tautoko the kaupapa, we were lucky to hang out with some pretty cool dudes around here in Tauranga Moana, such as Matua Jack Thatcher. And at that stage, ngā hiraka hadn't been lashed, and we got the opportunity to spend 2 months learning lashing practices and how to lash a waka together. And also, not long after that, we were able to sail alongside Matua Jack and his crew up and down the east coast, further reinstilling that kaupapa waka into the lads. Haere tōne. Not long after the sail, we ended up going up to Waitangi for Waitangi Day. And they were fortunate enough to collaborate and be a part of a great kaupapa, which is to hoi ngā toki mata whaurua, which is the biggest war canoe we have in Aotearoa. It can hold about 120 people on it. And I think the Waitangi we were at this year was the largest of its kind. And so to be a part of that atmosphere and that wairua further contributed to this wakatere program that we're doing today. Some more shots of the boys at Waitangi enjoying the ambience and the atmosphere of Te Pē Whairangi. hooking up with some of the Ngāpuhi, Tūwharetoa and various tribes all around the country, and also iwi take indigenous tribes from America, Holland, Japan. They were all there, and we were all basking in that sort of kaupapa at that time. We went to explore all sorts of different types of waka. The waka taua there, mokopuna, there's one in Rotorua. Also awanui, you know, seeing them at their particular art forms. And the only way I know how to instill the kaupapa waka into people is to physically and practically get in there, exploring all sorts of avenues. And I think towards the end there, I'll explain the importance of all of this to wrap it up. Haere tonu. Safety on the ocean. We're fortunate enough to do
Collaborate with Pererika.
with Pererika from Tūhaurangi. He taught us the day skippers, which are the fundamental lessons to learn out on the moana regarding policies and health and safety when you venture out to sea. You know, I learned a whole lot of things too because I hadn't done that particular course, and I can say that I don't know not what to do. But now that I know this, haere tonu, Chief. And at the moment, we're getting into our waka kōpapa, our waka tere. And the wonderful thing about this waka tere is that, you know, Matua over here could correct me, but, you know, we haven't done this particular kaupapa or daga waka out traditionally on our waka for maybe more than 100 years, maybe. You know, it's evident to see that, you know, this is a really endangered kaupapa art form that we're reviving here at Makahai Marae. This is our last slide. We got the waka to a certain stage. This is our matariki, the time of matariki. And just to showcase to our whānau where we are at this particular time. And on August the 30th, we invite all you guys to the launching of this waka down on the Kaituna. Yeah, so kia ora tātou.
That's the 30th of August. It's set in a godly hour, 10 o'clock, 10 a.m. And it's down at the boat ramp. So where the cutters down there, where the boat launches. So teko the kōrero nei, haramai kotu, kei te tūtoko I tēnei kaupapa, e mihi mai ana kia tātai.
Any words, Joshi? Just to wrap this up, this particular Neo kaupapa, I'm a big ambassador for waka kaupapa. Why? It's actually, although it's a small waka, it's the symbolism it presents. It's a presence on the Kaituna. It's a vessel where we can connect with our water intrinsically, physically, culturally, and probably more importantly, spiritually. We can do all the, you know, to start to be able to regain that mātauranga that our matu over here, Uncle Maru, had explained earlier in the hui, you know, setting I hinaki, you know, going up the river, to do all those wonderful things our tupuna went to do. Why? Because it's uplifting, it's inspiring to our rangatahi, and our rangatahi are the apopo of who we are tomorrow. And, you know, if we can uplift them in that space, hopefully, you know, wonderful things happen. So, nō reira, he mihi tēnei kia tātou katoa. Fire, koutou mā. And also, we got the okay to go ahead for another year. So, because it's ngā nia o te Kaituna, it encompasses all mana whenua. You know, if there's aspiring rangatahi, they want to reconnect with their Kaituna, no mai haere mai. Nō reira, nā runga I tēnā. mihi kia koutou, mihi kia tātou, mauri ora e te whānau. Kia ora, Auntie.
Kia ora koutou, tino pai. E teitoko katoa nei I tēnei kaupapa. It's awesome to see this practice is about to be relaunched on our awa, so awesome mahi. Any questions for the team? Okay, we'll carry on. Thank you. Okay, moving on to the next presentation, Tauranga Geothermal System Management Plan.
Ko waiwawa te awa e mahia hei a ku mahanahana. No te whanganui a hei te whenua tupu. Kei te noho a hau e ohope e naine. Ko Georgia Thompson tōku ingoa. Tēnā tātou katoa. I am a planner, a geothermal planner at Tauranga Moana. I'm sorry. I am a planner in the geothermal team at Toi Moana. I am here today with Penny Dorman, who is the geothermal lead. Thank you for having us here today to share our kaupapa. We're here to talk about the Tauranga Moana geothermal system and the development of a geothermal system management plan. We know that the Tauranga geothermal system falls within the rohi of Te Kaituna, and we hope to share some information with you today and hear your thoughts. This map shows the indicative extent of the Tauranga geothermal system, which is the pink lines, as well as the proposed freshwater management units in the blue lines. The red dots shown are the warm water geothermal wells, and the blue dots are the cold water bores. The Tauranga geothermal system is a low temperature system, which means temperatures range between 30 and 70 degrees Celsius. That is essentially the warm parts of the groundwater aquifers, with heat concentrated near the city centre. There are few surface features, but there are some geothermally influenced springs. The most well-known spring is in Maketu, which is identified in the Kaituna River document and which was used historically for bathing. There are about 120 to 130 consented takes. Uses include space and water heating, bathing, including for domestic, commercial, and municipal uses. About 24% of the takes are not being used for the heat value for things like irrigation. Discharges include reinjection, discharges to land, water, sewer or stormwater systems, and to Tauranga Moana. Sorry, we've jumped ahead. We're not currently aware of any discharges to the Kaituna River, but this is something that we can later confirm. The geothermal team at Toi Moana are working on a number of different projects. Sorry, the presentation's just jumping forward. The geothermal team are currently working on a number of different projects, a system management plan, a system management plan for the Tauranga geothermal system, and the wider geothermal team are working on a plan change for geothermal for the rest of the region. The system management plan that we are developing is a whole system approach and sets out a pathway for integrated and sustainable management. The system management plan will be used to inform the regional plan change. It is a guidance document rather than containing rules. We have developed system management plans for Kawero and Rotorua, but each system management plan has a different focus to reflect the specific needs of the system that it represents. The geothermal plan change will address systems like Rotorua, Tahiki, Tikitiri, and Kawero. It will also include some provisions around Tauranga, but because geothermal and freshwater takes are from the same aquifer in Tauranga, integration in the plans is really important. So there will also be low temperature geothermal provisions in the freshwater plan change, which is being developed. Having some technical difficulties with the presentation, sorry folks, but we have, to build our understanding, we have, sorry, lost my place. Oh, sorry, yeah, okay. So to build understanding, we have done quite a lot of work to date. We have completed a review of iwi management plans to identify geothermal interests. We have looked at economic benefits and costs of geothermal. So what is it, what its value is as a heat resource. We have pulled together information that we have to develop an understanding of the Tauranga geothermal system by way of the science summaries. We are working to better understand the potential for low temperature geothermal as a low carbon renewable source of energy. Even 30 to 70 degree water can provide direct heat energy. We are especially interested in how this can be used for new developments. The Tapuika environmental plan specifically identifies exploring the feasibility of using low temperature geothermal resource for heating marae and Papakainga. We have also looked at reservoir modelling reports and monitoring information. All of this work is also being used to help inform the plan changes. A quick summary of our findings from the iwi management plans. The Tauranga Moana iwi management plan, Ngāti Whakaue ki Makatu iwi management plan, and the Tapuika environmental plan lay out some issues and objectives related to this kaupapa. Integrated management of freshwater and geothermal is a strong directive from these plans. So integrated management is key. This is also about the protection of the Māori and the geothermal taonga and avoiding degradation or loss, as well as expressions for involvement of iwi and hapu in management of geothermal. Our last slide was oh, we're back. Nice timing. Our broad approach while the system management plan is in its early stages of development, the principle of integrated management is really key and is also the approach we are adopting for the plan change. Most importantly, we are managing this interconnected aquifer in an integrated way. We know that groundwater takes and discharges can affect the heat value of the geothermal system. So we need to manage these and protect high value uses, for example, through setbacks. And we know that geothermal takes and discharges can impact groundwater and surface water, heat being a contaminant, for example. So the system management plan will include guidance on how to manage these discharges. Protecting geothermal taonga is important. It may involve things like including setbacks, restoration, or the like. Another important step is raising awareness. Not many people know about the Tauranga geothermal system currently, so informing people about the resource and enabling sustainable and efficient use is important. Next slide, please. On screen is a broad timeline for the development of the Tauranga geothermal system management plan, as well as the plan change. Currently, we are in pre-engagement stage and are hoping for approval of the system management plan by April 2025. Thank you. Kia ora.
Kia ora, thank you. Any questions?
Yeah, I have concerns that the commercial value will outweigh the social value because it's a natural resource. It's a natural resource, so therefore it should be used socially rather than economically for recreational and those sort of things. And you talked about the Ngātaroirangi was the one who found the Waiariki pathway, if you like, when he got off the canoe at Te Awa Tatua. Te Awa Tatua means the river of the gods. And of course, when he went down there, he got into hot bother down Taupo. So he called his sister. She followed him from White Island. And of course, that outlaid the Waiariki area. And just on that point, in Maketu, there's a geothermal area that comes from White Island, goes to Little Waihi, and it comes through the land to where the Church of England is. The Rogers used to have a family of whakaotarangia. They used to have a hotel there. And of course, they used to use this hot spring that was there. That spring goes to not Whakapau Kōrero, not quite to Whakapau Kōrero. And that's where the wetlands are. Then it comes back into Blackie McRae's place in front of the Whakaue marae, and you would find that the pathway leads into the middle of the ocean to Mawao. That's history that I shouldn't be telling you, because that's the old people told us that pathway. So we don't want it commercialized. We want it socialized. Anything for recreational gymnasiums and things like that, yes. But anything for property rights, ownership, and that sort of thing, no. It's a natural resource. It shouldn't be for economic greed, but social responsibility. Just wanted to raise that issue, how important geothermal is.
Kia ora, thank you for sharing, and thank you for your comment.
He pātai atu anō, any other questions, comments?
Through the chair, not a question, but kei te tūtoko te kōrero a Maru. A practical example is in Te Puke on number 1 road, on the corner of number 1 road is a retirement home. Prior to it becoming a retirement home, it used to be like a cabin hotel. And they used to have geothermal baths and that in there. They used to source it from the Waiari. And so what we know from the Waiari, the water is so cold on the top, if you drill down beneath that into the riverbed, which we don't propose, but if that happens, you go down 3 meters and you hit geothermal water. And that was being used by the hotel around about the 80s, 90s, until the iwi then took thing to that and stopped that practice as it turned into the retirement village. So yeah, it does exist. and it's there, and we are aware of these things. So we, I suppose, hold them close to our hearts. As Maru has indicated, he shouldn't be telling you that, and maybe I shouldn't be telling you this, but it is a reality that we're fully aware of. So any sort of consultation around that definitely needs to come to iwi, and I think this entity here would certainly be interested in how that continues. Kia ora.
Kia ora, Dean. Kia koe, Tari.
Kia ora, tēnā koe te tiamana hau. Anga mihi kia koe te rangatira. Yeah, look, just on geothermal matter, I guess, you know, I sort of look after the Okure region, if you like, from a council point of view, but been engaged very closely with geothermal around some of our mana whenua there, because obviously we live on the top of a caldera and geothermal is bubbling up everywhere. So yes, very much based the frameworks that have been employed for Rotorua geothermal field is around sustainability of the resource, but acknowledging as well that others have used that resource for economic purposes. The hotels that are actually owned by a lot of foreign interests use that particular resource at the detriment of the benefit of the field, I believe. But anyway, a lot of that stuff's being addressed by iwi taking charge of the sense that participating in maintaining its sustainability. But if you go out to Tahike, Maru, you know that they're developing that for geothermal power station. And it's been proven, that particular resource. So our people aren't astray from looking at the economic benefits of it, jobs, heating, and also economic prosperity, but also re-injection processes to make sure that the resilience is built into the geothermal resource. If you look at Tauranga, and I know over there, you've got some heated waters down there. It seems to be quite passive, but I do know that there are a number of bores being put down to actually warm and to heat and provide warm water for some of those private residencies. So I guess if you know where they are in your domain around Tapuika and those things, and the stories you've just shared, it would be probably be better off you don't actually articulate it too much. Although I think from an iwi point of view, it might be good to examine that particular resource and make sure that it is protected, or you may have a domestic use that can benefit the whānau. So I think just keeping a little bit of flex in that space might be useful for your own needs and sustainability. Just my thoughts.
Tēnā koe e te taru. Question for me, just wondering if you've been engaging with what's happening in Rotorua. Obviously, they've already got geothermal management happening over there. Any engagement?
Tēnā koutou I rangatira mā, ko Pini Dorman taku ingoa, he ngā whāriki aranga ahau ki toi moana. Yes, we've been doing a heck of a lot of work in Rotorua, and Councillor White has been a big part of that, and also Councillor Kiriopa in the earlier stages of that. So just acknowledging that mahi. So we did a lot of engagement and in the development of that Rotorua system management plan. It's got quite a different focus to where we're heading with Tauranga, because it's a really different resource. In Rotorua, you've got really significant surface features. You've got the geyser fields, and you've also got a lot of surface features which are still being used on a daily basis by haukainga. And it's a really sensitive and vulnerable system. So we have to manage what's being taken from that system really, really carefully to protect those taonga, the ngāwhā. Tauranga is a little bit different because it's almost just like the warm parts of the groundwater aquifer, and as Georgia said, that's why we're trying to manage it in an interconnected and integrated way. While sustainability is always at the front and centre of our minds, we also think that with new technology, there are some really sophisticated ways of taking warm and cool. It's a strange way of talking about it, but that's what they talk about, taking warm and cool out of groundwater, for example, for space and water heating, and you can do that in a way that's not having a big impact on that resource. So, for example, you can use heat exchangers which can elevate, temperatures that might be 30 to 70 degrees. You can elevate them up to 150, something like that, through a heat exchange technology. So sustainability has got to be part of this, but what we're keen to do is start talking to people more also about the opportunities for sustainable use, for the sorts of things that Maru has referred to, use in, you know, municipal pools, those kinds of things. That's already happening, but maybe we could do that better. So it's about trying to find that balance, I guess, and that's where it's going to be really important to engage with tangata whenua to make sure we get that right. Kia ora.
Kia ora, Mr. Chair, if I can add to that, if I may. I think there is an opportunity for Tapuiki to look at this from a domestic point of view as a potential. You know, it's in your purvey to probably look at that. From a Rotorua perspective, the three Ahikaroa groups, Napuna, Whakarewarewa, and Ohunumutu, were all involved over quite a long period of time, 5 years, in terms of trying to get to an agreed position on this, and they have agreed to it. One of the outstanding issues that will always be there is the claim to ownership of the geothermal, and Ngāti Whakaue have lodged their claim for the geothermal. And that has always raises its head. But I guess the critical issue is making sure that the geothermal resource is sustainable, is protected. But at the end of the day, if the iwi wish to develop it, you know, you need to be aware of that opportunity, not extinguish it from your minds. I think it's an important one to investigate over time, how you might like to see the resource being developed, if at all. And it's there in your presence and in your domain. But again, you know, some additional research might be of interest, as Penny has pointed out. You know, there's some discussions that can be had in that type of space.
Kia ora, thank you both for your presentation. Ngā mihi nui. Okay, moving on to our next presentation, Kaituna Catchment Flood Hazard Analysis. Oh, kia ora, Mark.
Kia ora.
Tom's with you.
Okay. Yeah, kia ora koutou, called Mark Townsend Ahau. I'm the engineering manager at Toi Moana, and my presentation incorporates, I think, the topic that you've just laid out, but it's at a higher level. So hopefully Jenny can put the presentation up, please. So this is I guess a high level intro on a project that we're looking at in the Kaituna, and the intention is I give this high level overview today, and with the view of coming and joining you there next time, where we'll go through it in a bit more detail. So yeah, so it's as it says, it's titled there, the climate change resilience for the Kaituna catchment control scheme. So if you click on, please. So the climate change resilience is a subgroup of the River Scheme Sustainability Project that we've been working on for a number of years at Toi Moana. And the goal and vision of the RSS project, as we refer to it, is that we'll have a 100-year sustainable river management strategy. And the idea is that instead of looking out into the short term and doing any upgrades and so forth, we actually look out to the future and then start working our way back to make sure that any steps we take in the interim fit in with that 100-year plan. And our vision is that we'll have a reduction in flood risks for the Bay of Plenty region, that we use environmentally and economically sustainable land use practices, we adapt to climate change, we make sure that our community stakeholders support, and we've got engagement, and of course iwi and hapu engagement is paramount as far as that's concerned, and that our schemes are actually affordable. We're all suffering economically with all sorts of increases in costs, and the last thing we want is a great big bill for the regional council for some more flood protection. So those are the key goals / visions for this particular project. Click again. So just to take you through the River Scheme Sustainability Project, so underneath it is the individual river schemes. So obviously we've got the Kaituna Control Scheme, and then we've got the Rangataiki Tarawera, the Whakatane Tauranga, and the Waiwaka Otara over in Oporiki. We have commenced those other three resilience programs. There was, in terms of immediate need, they were there, and then we're about to commence in the Kaituna itself. So components of the climate change resilience program is the capacity review, and I'll have a separate slide on that to explain that. And then we look at options, and there's a few items there under options. If Jenny could click again, please. So there's geotechnical investigations. So that's us drilling into our stock banks and surrounding land just to see what's underneath and see if that creates any issues. I'm sure you're all aware that the path of the Kaituna River has changed over time, and we've channelized it, and we've got our stock banks up, but there's many remnant paths which cross underneath that, which does cause issues as far as seepage is concerned. So we've commenced geotechnical investigations to have a look at that and see what effect that has on any future plans. And then from there, we will start engaging with the community. And as I said, want to come back to this group at the next hui and start with that process. And then together, we'll go and have a look at what are our options for the future. So click onto the next slide. So yeah, so the scheme, the river scheme capacity review is essentially top right-hand corner. You can see just representing the stock banks there. And essentially what we do is we do a whole lot of analysis, which involves a whole lot of that stuff on the left-hand side that I won't go through in too much detail. It's basically we do cross sections up through the river, and then look at the geometry that we have. We apply a whole lot of rainfall to it, run it through a model, and it comes up with a result. And then it sort of determines, hey, what is the flood level in relation to those stock banks? And of course, if it's over, then we're looking at an upgrade. So I don't want to go into too much detail. We can probably go through in a bit more detail when I come back at the next hui. Looking on from there. So we have actually done the capacity review for the hour itself, and we have done the capacity review as far as the major subcatchments as well. So on the left-hand side, and you can see a bit of dark blue there, that's the Bell Road catchment. So from the TEL heading towards Te Puke. And then on the right-hand side of the Awa is the area around the wetlands, and the area that we sort of colloquially refer to as the Ford Road catchment, which extends from the Kaituna River on the left next to the TEL through to Makatu. And so that's just a snapshot there of, under the current climate, a 1% event, which in the old terms is a 1 in 100 year event. And you can see that we've got quite a bit of flooding in that sort of Bell Road catchment, even under present conditions. Logically, the Makatu estuary is there's a depth of water there as well. And if you click through to the next slide, and so this is us looking out at 100 years. So that's the future climate as it says, and the prediction under current models is we'll have an average temperature increase of that 3.68 degrees, and our sea level rise will be up to 1.25 meters. So that of course has quite an effect. But comparison between one map to the next, apart from the area to the south of the Makatu estuary, there's only sort of just an incremental change. So we've essentially got pre-existing issues now, particularly in Bell Road and sort of south of Waitangi, that we need to do something about, or make some changes, radical changes. So that's really it. That's just a snapshot, as I said, and look forward to catching up with you at a future hui.
Bye, thank you, Mark. Any questions for Mark? Okay, it looks like there's no questions for you, Mark. Thank you for your presentation. Kia ora. Any final comments before we close with karakia? Oh, Okay, kia ora tātou. I nui nā kōrero ko rangona I tēnei rā. Me hi ana ki tēnā o nā kai kōrero. O te rā tātou katoa. He whakakopane iho i nā kōrero I tēnei ahi. Kia karakia tātou. Unuhia atu ki te uru tapu nui. Kia māmā kia wātea te nākei te tina nā te hini naru I te arataka tū. Ko ia rā e rongo whakirihi aki ki runga. Haimi e hui e tae ki e. Now to declare the meeting closed. Kia ora tātou.